Hey, how's it going, Elder Scrolls Nation? Skullzi here, and today's video is going to be one of my first lore videos, maybe my second one if you consider the Dragon Break video a lore one, but this one's going to all be about drugs in the Elder Scrolls lore, which means I'm getting demonetized. Yay! I'm going to talk about each and every drug one can find in the Elder Scrolls universe, talk about what it is, its effects, its lore, then I'll find its real-life equivalent because, you know, for science. There aren't too many drugs or narcotics mentioned in the Elder Scrolls lore, but there are more than you would think, and some of them are pretty crazy. Some of these are only mentioned in books, so there isn't much known about them. Others have vast histories and information that could constitute a whole video of them on their own, which I already did, and that was for Skooma and its raw form, moon sugar. Now, because I've already went into great detail in that lore video about moon sugar and Skooma, I will only briefly touch on both moon sugar and Skooma in this video. But if you are interested in knowing the full details and history about moon sugar, Skooma, and their real-life counterparts, make sure you check out that video, which should be on the screen here. Now remember everyone, this video does not suggest you should do drugs. Don't do drugs. Drugs are bad.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs. If you do them, you're bad. Because drugs are bad, okay?
So let's get started. We will go ahead and start out with moon sugar and Skooma to get them out of the way. Like I said, I won't go into full detail in this video because I did a whole video about those two before. So, moon sugar is the raw form of Skooma. Moon sugar is grown in elsewhere, where it is not only legal, but it is generally sprinkled and eaten with almost anything. Moon sugar looks like a white, sugary powder, a little bit larger than most sugar grains. Moon sugar's side effects affect Khajiits far less than the other races, so if someone is visiting elsewhere, they are told to be careful what they eat so they don't overdose on the stuff. Moon sugar is somewhat similar to sugar as it grows like a sugar cane and has a sweet taste. But combined with this sweet taste, you get a dose of a social, energetic buzz that leads to a bit of paranoia. Moon sugar is very addictive, and its real-life equivalent would most likely be cocaine. Not only can cocaine be eaten like moon sugar, but its narcotic effects are about the same, including its strong addictive traits. The refined version of moon sugar is even more addictive and dangerous, and that is Skooma. As I said in my Skooma video, this stuff has a very strong part in Khajiit religion, being used for meditative purposes as well as vision trances. Skooma can be made with various ingredients to suit the person's taste or to give their batch of Skooma a kind of sense of identity or brand. But moon sugar is always used in its production, and the process of creating Skooma is generally considered alchemy. Skooma is also the most commonly used drug in Tamriel and the most illegal. Skooma's effects are intense. Skooma is a wild ride of energetic, euphoric states with waves of being lethargic and totally fucking out of it. And during this whole process, you get all sorts of hallucinations. What the fucking shit? Who would want to do this stuff? Not only that, but Skooma is highly addictive and will eventually leave its victim permanently confused and mentally destroyed, sometimes even hopelessly violent. Skooma looks like crystals of various sizes or colors depending on what was used to make them and who made them, and it can either be eaten, as seen in this book, drank, or smoked. A couple variations of Skooma are double distilled Skooma, which is twice as potent, red water Skooma, which is also so strong that it can sometimes make its user pass out, with reported cases of waking up in the cell of a vampire, as well as all the different crystal forms of Skooma, which aren't dissolved into a drink. The crystal Skooma is either eaten, as like I said in this book, Confessions of a Skooma Eater, or it's smoked, as seen in Morrowind and Elder Scrolls Online. Skooma seems to be an odd cocktail of possible real-life drugs. A bit of heroin, a bit of acid, a bit of cocaine, all in one dose of no fucking thank you. The next drug we will be looking at is sleeping tree sap. Most common in Skyrim, it is not exactly illegal, and at the same time highly sought after by the Khajiit caravans who really want samples of the sleeping tree sap. Yeah, let's call them samples. Sure, whatever. Really, the Khajiit just want to party. Or maybe the Khajiit want to experiment with sleeping tree sap when making Skooma. That would be a fucked vision quest, no thanks. Sleeping tree sap is directly harvested from a spigot in the sleeping tree in Whiterun Hold in Skyrim. Some say the origin of the tree involves a piece of rock from the explosion of the Red Mountain landing way out here in Skyrim, causing the tree to mysteriously grow a short time after. Others say a spore fell from the floating city of Umbriel, causing the tree to grow after the spore hit the ground. Sleeping tree sap is said to make the user see in a strange purple trance like blur, while making them feel drunk and sluggish, unable to move quite as quickly or easily. It also makes them feel somewhat invincible, numbing pain and giving false senses of strength and vitality. I am not sure what the real life drugs this stuff would be. Maybe alcohol with a touch of PCP, sluggish, unable to move as fast, but feeling invincible. Kinda sounds like it might be drunk on PCP. Again, no thank you, want nothing to do with that shit. Now, since we are knee deep in some crazy sap drug stuff, let's stick with the trend and talk about hist sap. Hist sap comes from the hist trees of Black Marsh. When an Argonian licks hist sap, it allows them to communicate with the ancient sentient hist trees directly. When other races lick the stuff, weirder stuff happens. There is one circumstance where the Blackwood Company of Cyrodiil smuggled a hist tree into Leyawiin. Hist sap was believed to make physical changes to somebody, allowing them to fight better and be stronger, so the Blackwood Company was hoping this would give them an edge on the Fighters Guild. However, the tree that they smuggled into Cyrodiil had its sap modified to instead put its user into a hallucinogenic rage, which they obviously didn't know about that. The hero of Kvatch didn't know about that either, as after ingesting the hist sap, he went to the village of Water's Edge to kill a bunch of goblins. Only when the hist sap wore off, he didn't kill goblins, he killed all of the villagers of Water's Edge instead. The Fighters Guild later destroyed the tree, thankfully, and that all ended. But what real life drug is hist sap? Now that's a hard one. I'd immediately want to say acid, but when I hear about the rage stuff killing people thinking they're goblins and all that shit, I'm gonna put my vote on bath salts. See, this video is helping raise drug awareness. Don't do drugs. You might think you are a hero killing goblins, but later you pillaged a Walmart. Anyway, the next drug is somewhat mysterious and not much is known about it, but the Argonians state that it is somehow a product of the hist trees as well, but totally different from hist sap. It augments the Argonians' reality in a way in which they see everything in ecstasy. In fact, that's where the name of this drug comes from, and its name is Daryl, which in Argonian tongue means seeing everything in ecstasy. The Argonians attempted to sell a crate of this stuff to Cheydinhal, only to discover that it was not safe to consume by non-Argonian races, and it would just kill any other race like a strong poison. Closest thing I could think of in terms of its real-life counterpart would be Mdma for Argonians, which Mdma is a more pure form of the drug ecstasy. The next drug is somewhat like Skooma in the sense that moon sugar is used to create it, but it is mostly alcoholic. In fact, it's one of the few alcoholic drinks to be banned in Skyrim and Cyrodiil. It's known as Balmorra Blue, named after the city in which it was created in Morrowind. Not much is really known about what it exactly does, and there is no mention of its narcotic effects anywhere. Really, I've looked all over the place and I can't find anything about what this stuff does. But since it is said to be highly illegal and alcoholic, it reminds me of the wormwood fungus-based absinthe that can cause hallucinations depending on how it's ingested. Next up is one that is kinda pretty much fucking disgusting. Bug smoke. So bug smoke is mostly used by the Bosmer of Valenwood, whom follow the Green Pact, where they make a vow to Y'ffre to not kill or consume or use plants at all. So Bosmer who want to get high make a bone pipe, pack it full of the right caterpillars and tree grubs, and then smoke them. Thus bug smoke. Fucking disgusting. The Bosmer claim it gives them a strange, exhilarating feeling, but I'll go ahead and just take their word for it. From what I've researched, there is no real life bug that you can smoke like this, but there are some stupid ass kids that thought you could get high from smoking bedbugs. Maybe those kids swore by the Green Pact too, or maybe they're just fucking idiots. Anyway, the last two drugs I want to talk about are drugs that come from Sheogorath's plane of existence, the Shivering Isles. But there is one last interesting thing I want to point out. One more drug that happens to be a drug in real life, but not in the Elder Scrolls lore, and that is the Fly Amantia. In real life, it is one of the stronger forms of hallucinogenic magic mushrooms, but in the Elder Scrolls lore, it doesn't seem to have any of these effects. It's useful in alchemy, but that's about it. I found that pretty interesting, so I wanted to mention it. Now, the two drugs of the Shivering Isles are Feldew and Green Moat. First, we're going to talk about Feldew. Feldew is a very strange and interesting one, a drug I have no doubt that Sheogorath himself specifically created for his realm, and has his touch of madness to it, is what I'm saying. Feldew is created by a unique type of insect-like creature known as the Eltra. It is a green slime-like substance, and upon taking it, the user has an intense and very strong feeling of euphoria, but it's pretty short-lived. And with it comes a price, a permanent addiction with withdrawal symptoms that start within minutes and progress through 5 horrible stages, making the person ruined, useless, tired, and feeling like they are on the verge of death. The only way to negate this is to take more Feldew. There is a specific cavern protected by the Electra which one can enter only upon taking Feldew, and even more strangely, the Electra themselves won't attack anyone under the influence of Feldew. Some Feldew addicts decided to move into this cavern permanently so they can indulge in their addiction forever. The only cure to Feldew addiction is known as the Chalice of Reversal. It was created by Duke Thadon of Mdma, who created it so he could partake in Feldew without the negative effects. Later, after him and his wife split up, he fell into a strange bit of anger and sadness, so he decided to be a dick and hide the chalice in Dunroot Burrow, which is the cavern I mentioned earlier, where all the Feldew addicts lived and where you can only enter after being addicted to Feldew, essentially. He hid it away so no one can find it, and it was later discovered by the hero of Kvatch, placing it where it sits now in Sheogorath's throne room. Now, in terms of what Feldew might be in real life, the closest thing I can only think of would be heroin because of its intense withdrawal effects. But obviously, heroin is not a green slime, nor is there a Chalice of Reversal for it. Whoever makes that, though, will probably get a bunch of money. Anyway, the last drug in the Elder Scrolls universe again comes from the Shivering Isles, and that is green moat. Green moat is a green powdery substance harvested from mushroom tree saplings in the realm of Mania. Unrefined green moat powder has no alchemical or narcotic uses, but if it's refined right, it becomes a very potent drug. It is said that only the Duke of Mania has access to refined green moat, and he has a huge silo of it stored underneath Sheogorath's palace. Green moat is very, very, very strong, and one can easily overdose on it, which causes your heart to instantly explode. If taken in careful small doses, however, it's said to cause an effect only known as rapture, a very euphoric state in which perception, personality, speed, and even night vision is gifted to the user, but it can also make the person weaker, a bit less intelligent, and slower to move around. I have no idea what real-life equivalent to green moat would be if one existed. Green moat definitely sounds like the most fantasy drug I've ever heard of. So there you have it, all of the drugs in the Elder Scrolls lore. I did a lot of research for this, so I'm pretty sure I didn't miss anything, but if I did, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Also, be sure to let me know which one interested you the most. Be sure to subscribe and follow me on that Twatters and here on YouTubes, as I'll be doing a free t-shirt giveaway soon, and as always, thank you for watching. Make sure you tune in next time when Skyrim gets invaded by giant squirrels on Skooma.
Bye, have a great time.